Hi, everybody. Welcome inside to Countdown to Kickoff, where we get you set for the action for tonight's matchup between the Bryan Vikings and the Copperas Cove Bulldawgs. We're going to start things off today a little bit differently. Joining me here at the table is head coach Rodney Southern, running backs coach Donald Buckram, and from the Peanut Butter Bowl itself, Steve Teal with a trophy, because this year the Bulldawgs collected more than 6 tons of peanut butter to feed those in need in Copperas Cove.
Amazing job, Kurtis. Yeah, phenomenal.
To get 12,000 pounds, and obviously that all stays here in Copperas Cove. Have you seen a number this high before?
Well,
please say no.
I will say this. Last year we had an anomaly. We had a school down in San Antonio, Bernie champion. They had a certain amount of jars, which was going to help a lot of people. In Bernie was a nut company, and they had a grocery store, Publix in the South, that canceled their contract. And all of a sudden, this nut company had 24,000 jars of peanut butter. And somebody said, "Isn't your son doing peanut butter bowl?" And so out of the blue, I mean, we thought Copperas Cove had it last year. Y'all had over 10,000 last year. And that was 1,000 ahead of the school that you guys are usually rivals with when it comes to peanut butter bowl and some other things on the field. And so that was this number this year is incredible. I mean, yeah, 12,000. This year, our second place team, they did phenomenal, and they were short of 5,000 San Antonio Lee. So 12,240 jars, and then your next school out of 100 Texas high schools is 4836. I mean, come on. Phenomenal. Way to go. I mean, I'm getting chills right now. Just phenomenal.
And for those of you who don't know about Peanut Butter Bowl, if you haven't seen all of Coach Buckram's talks about it or haven't listened to us before, that all stays here in Copperas Cove. So that went to Baptist Benevolence Ministries and to my brother's house.
That's correct. 50-50 split. When on Labor Day they come up, both groups, and they have trucks. And literally just jar for jar in a bucket goes to one. We weigh it so we get the right number, and everybody gets their peanut butter. Everybody's really happy. So, yeah, phenomenal.
Coach Buck, when you set out on that, I know you've got lofty goals. Did you have that number in mind, or did this surpass even your expectations? Because you're the coach who's kind of over this effort.
Yes, sir. Last year we did talk a little trash at our press conference last year. So we did take a little personal last year that we didn't get first place, and we're a very competitive group here in Copperas Cove, so we did set the numbers pretty high, and we wanted to achieve 10,000 again, but with us getting 12,000, obviously exceeded that amount. So we did have our eyes set on that goal, but with the efforts we had throughout the entire city, we were able to get a little bit more than that 10,000 that we did last year.
To get this number to help, I mean, you mentioned at one of the board meetings that this amount of peanut butter will help both food pantries for almost a year, correct?
Yeah, last year they told us that the 10,000 lasted about 10 months, so almost a full year. So it's 12,000 mark, it should last the entire year, and that's what we try to aim. We're actually feeding our athletes this year. We had so much peanut butter left over from the 2 pantries that we're feeding our athletes now too. So right before we go to our first period class, they're able to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to fill their body with some protein.
Coach Southern, every coach that I've ever talked with has preached that it's not enough to go be good students. It's not enough to be good students and athletes, that you've also got to remember you're part of a community. How far does this go in driving that message home?
Well, when Donald first told me about it, I came from a district that barred peanut butter. We had no peanut butter in Huntsville ISD because of peanut butter allergies. So obviously I had not heard a whole lot about this. The idea, obviously anytime you can involve kids in helping other people, that's, for me, that's phenomenal. And y'all have heard me say before, yeah, I love winning football games, but there's a lot more to it, because most of the kids we have, when high school football's over, it's over for them. So the fact that they can do something that, and we have some kids that this is probably helping in more ways than one. So, anytime you can do something in your community and be a face of that, and obviously Buck's been the face of this for several years now. I was excited about it, and then the pep rally deal that we did at HEB,
yes.
Marching through HEB, I thought was pretty cool. So But anytime you can take your athletic programs, because it wasn't just us, there were some other people involved, but we've got the biggest number of athletes, so we should do the biggest part.
What is different about how Coach Buck and Coach Southern run the effort in Copper's Cove compared to other districts? This started out as a very local San Antonio effort and has branched all across the state.
Yeah, we started in 2016. Two of my friends, one who used to be in my youth group and grew up and became a head coach, and then Coach Riddiman, we started it with just those two schools, and for 3 years that's what we did. And we started to grow it just a little bit, and fortunately, one year we reached out to Austin Bowie, and Coach Abels looked down his schedule and said, Copper's Cove. Thank you, God, that he said that. And I want to say to Copper's Cove and to Coach Buckram, Coach Southern, all of y'all, what you do here is phenomenal, but it impacts, if we have 100 high schools, you've got to look, if you're at one of those other high schools, and say, how are they doing it? How are they doing it? We want to do it like they do it. So you guys are in elementary schools. You're in the middle schools. You're in businesses. That HEB pep rally that Coach Southern you mentioned, there was nothing like it. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about all that y'all have done. And I'll never forget that day, just in HEB, everybody marching through, the whole community out there filming and just excited to be a part of it. It's just incredible. So what happens? How does it impact other people in the state? We had Chaparral, and Coach McCray was there, and he's like, if y'all were there, you remember, he's like, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to, this is your thing. What did he do? He went to their HEB and said, look, this is what they do in Copper's Cove. So all of a sudden, you've got them. They're in the top 20. They had over 2,000 jars. And where did they get that vision and idea from? Coach Buckram, Coach Southern, and Copper's Cove. And that's just one school. So, your impact in feeding people across the state, it goes way beyond. This would be amazing, but it goes way beyond it. So just thank you, Coach Southern, thank you, Coach Buckram, and thank you all of Copper's Cove. Phenomenal. We just love it. I'm just waiting for Netflix to come and do a documentary on it. Really, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
What were those final numbers in the state? How many jars? How many pounds of peanut butter did this effort collect?
You get out your calculators, you start seeing your percent of Copper's Cove is pretty phenomenal, but we're at over 92,000 jars, so that's 92,000 pounds, 46 tons, and 12,000 is a pretty good chunk of that, wouldn't you say? So you guys are really leading the way and, like I said, inspiring others. So 100 high schools across Texas. This is our first year getting a game up in the Metroplex. It's our first year getting a game over in Houston. And again, when we go to tell people how to do it, what are we going to say? We're going to have videos of Copper's Cove saying, this is how you do it. So, it's great.
It's not the only place where that's true either. So that trophy is sitting right in front of you.
Yes.
Is that's going to live here now, right? And its rightful home.
That's going to live here, and according to Coach Buck, it's going to stay here for the next couple of years. Is what I'm hearing. So he can talk a little bit of game, a little bit of trash. Yes. So this trophy is rotating. So you got to keep winning it. So you look down, you see 2023. Copper's Cove Bulldawgs, 8,207. And by the way, in 2022, your second year, you were over 4,000 jars. Did not win the cup. The first time was 2023. But we've had 5 different schools. Copper's Cove is the first one to win this cup twice. So, fantastic.
Coach Buck, to see something that you took charge over and to see it do what it's done in the last few years, what does that mean to you, and how do the kids respond to it whenever you tell them, all right, it's peanut butter time?
Oh, man, the kids are very excited, and they kind of know when we start football season what time it is, too. It's obviously, time to help our community and time to feed the hunger, too, or the hungry also. But what it means to me, it means a lot because it's directly impacting the community that I grew up in. And I knew that my family and myself, we needed some assistance, too, throughout our life. And cool little short story, had one of our former players this year stop me in HEB and said, hey, Coach, y'all still doing the peanut butter deal? I I said, we are. So it's something that we staple on and we take pride in. And he said, well, me and my girlfriend, fiance, are having a baby, and we're going through some tough times right now. And we actually stopped at my brother's house, and we saw that peanut butter, and we were kind of curious, whether through the peanut butter bowl, whether just, randomly donated peanut butter. But it's just cool to see the direct impact, 4 or 5 years later down the road, helping students that we actually, influenced to be a part of the peanut butter bowl now actually playing a factor in their lives. So I think that's the biggest picture for me, is actually the ones who is helping in our community. Not the numbers are great, obviously, but just the direct impact it's having on kids that we know directly, that's been in our programs, that are actually participated in it. Now it's coming, full circle and helping them and their families too.
Mr. Teal, any final notes?
Man, there's so much, but I'll say this. Another thing just about your community, you talk about former players, and I see a notification come across from Michael, Big Mike down at Georgia Bulldawgs, giving $250, 125 jars. And to me, that just speaks volumes about this community. I mean, he leaves and goes away. He could be like, oh, whatever, but he's given a peanut butter bowl. So that's phenomenal. Can I tell you one other thing?
Go for it.
Just this. I was at a school that did really well this last week. They did over 2,000 jars. We're very excited because we had 19 schools do over 2,000 jars. And they wanted to know who won. And let me tell you what I told them. Let me tell you who came in second and third first. Because if I tell you the number one, how many peanut butter jars they collected, you're going to be like, oh, never mind, I just quit peanut butter bowl. So I told them second place, 4,000, third place, 4,000. Now sit down, because Copper's Cove had 12,240. So, again, thank you, Coach Southern. We tell head coaches, find an assistant coach with juice. I think he found it, I think so. But we really appreciate, Coach Southern and other head coaches that say this is important and I've got the right guy to get this done. And it is just, I'm ready for the Netflix. I mean, it's been phenomenal to see what you all do. So just thank you very much, Copper's Cove.
Thank you, Steve Teal.
Yeah.
And congratulations,
you,
Coach Buck, Coach Southern.
Yes,
This is a testament to what y'all do, and so congratulations on your win.
There you go, right there,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
The 2025 Peanut Butter Bowl champion, Copper's Cove Bulldogs. Up next, we'll actually talk some football here on Countdown to Kickoff. We'll bring up the coordinators and preview tonight's game between the Bryan Vikings and the Copper's Cove Bulldogs. You're listening to Countdown to Kickoff from Bulldawg Radio. We're back on Countdown to Kickoff as we get you set for the action. Tonight's matchup is the Bryan Vikings and the Copper's Cove Bulldogs. It's the district home opener after the Cardiac Dogs started with a 1-0 district mark last week. Kurtis Quillin joined by the head football coach, Rodney Southern, defensive coordinator, Amaury Del Real, and offensive coordinator, Scott Schroeder. And let's first, like we always do, talk about the Bulldog offense against this time the Viking defense. And Coach Southern, when you turn on the tape of Bryan after that win over Killeen last week, what pops off the screen?
Well, I think it's a similar look. I don't think we're going to see 3 D linemen as good as we saw last week. Possibly not at any point. I thought Killeen had 3 really, really talented guys. I think Bryan's going through some similar struggles that I think Killeen has been going through. They've got a real unique team. It's not a big team in terms of numbers, but it's heavy senior laden. You see them in games and making plays, but they're a base 3-down line, very similar to what we saw the other night. Some much different looks in terms of linebackers and secondary as far as what they're going to try to do. I think they'll try to pressure us a little bit more and obviously try to fill the box as much as they can. Because they know, obviously, KJ and our running backs are going to carry the football, hopefully a lot tonight. But it's a unique situation because I think they're trying to still kind of find their identity. I think both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. But it looks very similar to what we saw the other night, but I think the level of guys is not quite the same. You got to play everybody and you got to be secure in what you're trying to do, in this case, offensively.
You talk about KJ. You're a defensive guy. Do you have the greatest time watching KJ run the football, knowing you don't have to tackle him?
Well, watching him in practice, and of course, y'all have heard the story. I coached KJ's dad when I was here, and so the first conversation I had with him and his dad was what I expected from him, and he looks at times you wonder, like the other night, I realized actually how fast he is, because at 220 pounds, he looks big. And, of course, and I joke with him all the time about the number 0. I'm not a big fan of the number 0, but I understand. But the thing that he has, too, that we probably don't talk about a lot is vision once he gets past the initial line of scrimmage. There's been some cutbacks and some moves, and then the acceleration from that point on. So, and I watch them in practice, obviously, when we go good on good. And, there are a lot of guys that don't want to, as coaches say, they make a business decision. They don't want to stick their head in there all the time. And then obviously, like the other night in that game, late in the fourth quarter, you know he's getting the football. But there's also a point where if we do it the right way, like we did the other night, everybody thought he was getting the football at the end, and he didn't. So, but I'm glad, number one, he's on our team, and number two, he's just a junior.
Coach Schroeder, when you look at this matchup, first, next man up mentality is one of those coaching cliches. I'm of the opinion cliches become that way for a reason. And I think, in my opinion, your offense showed where that's the truth Friday night. Quarterback goes down in the second half. You bring TJ in from out wide to go under center. And you don't miss a beat. He orchestrates that drive for you to win it. The 2-point conversion to take the lead, and then the defense comes up with a big stop. How important is that for an offense to not just understand the next man up thing, but to embody it and go win a game because of it?
Yeah, I think obviously it's very important, and it'll show itself as you go through the year. We're right at that time right now where bumps and bruises and start to happen, and depth becomes an issue for all teams. So it's very important that you have some quality depth. But not only with TJ, but with Dooley a couple weeks back. I mean, our coaches do a great job of preparing those guys for that situation and preaching that, and they've been able to step in and, like you said, not miss a beat. So that's very valuable, and that doesn't happen if you don't structure your practice in a way and talk to them and make sure they're mentally prepared and watch film. And you can't just coach one guy. You got to coach your whole position. So our coaches have done a great job of that.
What's the biggest opportunity in your opinion, for your offense tonight against Bryan?
Well, I've played Bryan quite a bit, so in the past, what they'll do, and we've seen it on film again, is they'll outnumber us in the box and try to stop our run game. We could run the ball well in Huntsville too, so they pack the box. So in Huntsville, when we played them, we can run the ball pretty effectively, but then in the passing game, when we had our opportunities, that's when we turned the ball game. When we played them, that's when we kind of separated and blew them out a little bit, like, I don't know, right term, but that's when we kind of got them, So if we can do that, if we can make some plays in the passing game when the opportunities are there, I think it'll get us in a position where we want to be. But they're going to load the box, so we're not going to have enough to block them. So we'll chip away, and then when we have those opportunities, we got to capitalize.
Are you guys at a time of year, and this question is for both of you, where you kind of have to be ready for something to go awry during a game? I think it's safe to say that the first half Friday night's not how you would have drawn it up if you could have chosen your path in that game. But then down 14, both sides of the ball had great answers, and every coach wants complimentary football throughout, and there it was. You come away with the win. Is that where you're at right now, where you have to expect something to go awry because everybody plays everybody in this district every year?
Yeah, and each game's so unique. You never really know the quality of your opponent. And I said last week I thought Killeen defensively was very good. The defensive line is very good, even though the record don't show it. I was concerned a little bit about that, but you look, and we had two opportunities in the pass game early that we should have scored on, could have scored on. that might have turned the tide of the game. We had two real big fumbles, negative yardage, and then one where it had a bad snap kind of, and Craig put his knee down when he got the ball. So that's three pretty much drive killers right there, and you only get 8 to 10 drives a game. So a lot of those were self-inflicted. So we know that, hey, if we just settle down, just keep playing, we've got the talent, we've got the kids we'll right the ship, and we'll head in the right direction.
Coach Southern, same question to you.
Well, I think you get to this stage, the perfect example is tonight. Well, Bryan didn't play last week, so Bryan's had a week and a half to 2 weeks to prep for us. They probably got a chance to see us live, which like we talked about last week, I felt the same way about Quillin. I thought from a talent standpoint, they were as talented as anybody we were going to play, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think tonight, we're going to see something Bryan's been working on for 2 weeks because those guys know us because we played them every year we were in Huntsville. So there's always something at that point. And then you're at the stage, too, like Coach said, we're into technically 6 weeks, but you figure 3 weeks of fall camp. So you're getting to that stage where durability becomes an issue with some guys, especially if a guy like TJ, he was our MVP the other night because he recovered a kickoff in the end zone. He recovered, and did all the things he does offensively. So, but you also got to ride with the guys that you feel like are going to give you the best chance to win every week too.
That is a look at the Bulldog offense for tonight's matchup against Bryan. Up next, we'll flip it around. We'll talk the Bulldog defense against the Viking offense. This is Countdown to Kickoff from Bulldog Radio.
Dr. Hawkins, that brings me to our good things that we always start with, homecoming. What does homecoming mean to you?
Well, it's the first in Dog Nation, and so it's been great. I went this morning to the field house, and the quarterback club has their meeting every Friday at 7:30, and so I went over there and just to see the kids, and I'm pretty proud of those kids. After tonight we'll be 3-1, and so I'm gonna go ahead and be like Joe Namath and make that a prediction. I know those kids are hungry, unless we just go out there and the good Lord has a different plan. I think it's going to be a very exciting homecoming. If what we had last week is any indication of what's to come tonight, what better environment could you be in anywhere in the state of Texas than in Bulldawg Stadium tonight? So that's very exciting for me.
We're back on Countdown to Kickoff as we get you set for the action. Tonight's District 12 6A matchup is the Coppers Cove Bulldawgs and the Bryan Vikings inside the friendly confines. Kurtis Quillin, Rodney Southern, and defensive coordinator Amaury Del Real. Coach, when you look at Bryan's offense, what pops off the screen?
Well, I think it's a little bit they're still trying to find an identity. O-line wise, we've seen them for 3 or 4 years. 3 years ago, they probably had one of the best offensive lines that we had seen. They don't have that in terms of size. They're not as big as Quillin. I don't think they're as big, technically, all 5 of them, as we are. And obviously, we got 2 big tackles, but our inside guys are not your typical big offensive linemen. They're going probably against us. I would assume they're going to have their H back, and they use him a lot in what they do, and they actually do a good job of hiding him a lot of times. He's right behind their offensive tackles, and that doesn't seem like a big deal, but if your eyes are not where they're supposed to be and all of a sudden that guy gets out into the flat or gets in a route and we don't have somebody on top of him. But again, I think they're trying to find an identity. And I think what we've got to be able to do is obviously we've got to shut their run game down as best we can and make this quarterback throw the football.
Coach Del Real, when you look at this matchup, where do you feel your defense's biggest opportunity is against Bryan?
I think like Coach Southern said, I think the biggest thing for us is stopping the run game. Like this is going to be a different offensive line than Quillin. Quillin had good size. Their offensive tackles were good athletic and good size. Interior, I think their smallest guy was their center, but he did a good job of helping with double teams, and they helped him out so that he wouldn't have to be one-on-one. So it's a little bit different tonight with their offensive line not being as big, and I think our defensive line will do fine in holding their gaps. And what they do is not very complex. They run, like Coach said, I think they're still trying to figure out what they're best at. So they do a little bit of zone, a little bit of counter. So for our defensive line, it's going to be big to hold their gap and our linebackers to fill over the top.
How important is it for a defense to build on that last 12 minutes of Friday night where they not only kept Quillin from scoring again, allowing the offense to chip away at the lead, but then came up with that game-winning sack there with 40-something seconds left?
I mean, it was huge. One of the things that we told them as the offense was kind of marching down the field on that last drive, we told them we got to get one more stop regardless. Whatever happens on this, we're either going to have to get the ball back or we're going to have to win the game. So we kind of, as coaches, we kind of challenged them and reminded them, against Georgetown, right? We had so many opportunities to get off the field. And then on that last drive, we had 2 opportunities to get off the field, and we weren't successful. And obviously, we ended up being on the losing side of that game. So we told them these are the situations that come back up, and they're going to come back up later on in district and in the playoffs and all that type of stuff. So these are the moments that as a defensive unit, we get better. You as an individual, you get better because you're doing your job. Don't focus on trying to do the big play. Just do your job every down, and we'll be, we'll end up on the right side of things. And, I got to give credit to them kids because at halftime, we drew up a little something there at the end, and they executed. We didn't call it until we said, I talked to Coach Chancellor, our corners coach, and I said, this is going to come up at some point. We're going to use this, and I bet you we're going to win the game with it. And so those last 2 plays, it was the same blitz, just a couple tweaks between the first and the second play, and the kids executed it, and we came out with a big win.
To defend a running back like Coach Southern was discussing earlier, one that they can hide in the formation, but can also do some damage for them offensively. I mean, you've defended players like that already this year. Without giving your game plan away, though, how do you handle as a defense making sure someone's got eyes on this guy who might be hidden in between a couple of guys?
I mean, I think it comes down to coaching. All of our coaches do a great job of preparing our kids. And our biggest thing has been since the spring is making sure your eyes in the right spot. Don't let all the camouflage that happens behind the line of scrimmage before the snap. Don't let all those things get your eyes out of focus. And early on in the spring, with us, the movement that our offense does, it was a struggle for them to kind of figure it out. But now they're more locked in and they're more focused in what they're doing, and they've gotten plenty of opportunities to rep it. So I think our kids are ready for all those things.
That's a look at the Bulldog defense as we get you set for the action tonight. Up next, as we near kickoff, final keys to this one. This is Countdown to Kickoff from Bulldog Radio. Sheds a tackle, cuts to the outside. He's out inside the 10, diving for the end zone. He's in.
It's a Bulldog touchdown.
Tristan Glass, have yourself a night, sir. Welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff, where we get you set for the action. Tonight's matchup is the Bryan Vikings visiting the Coppers Cove Bulldogs. If you'd like to see the taping of this show live on every game week, Tuesday at 11:30, come join us in the boardroom. Don't come next week. Next week's the open date. They'll be in the ice baths, but we'll be back the following week. Again, that's Southern Talk, Tuesdays at 11:30 during game week inside the boardroom. Coach Schroeder, your final message to your offense before you guys run out tonight.
Well, I'd like to see us improve still in a couple of areas. We've had a lot of young players, first varsity experience. They're not young anymore. They got to start putting some things together that we're asking them to do, still finding the right pieces. So go be who we can be, execute, No negative plays like we had the other night, but just continue to get better and let's show what we can do. Let's play the whole game, all 4 quarters.
Coach Del Real, same question to you.
Do your job. Execute at a high level. Don't try to make the big play. Let the game come to you. And as always, we got to run to the ball.
Coach Southern, your 3 keys for a Bulldog victory tonight.
Well, I think this week compared to even last week, and it'll probably be this way all the way through our district schedule, is we are talented enough to match people physically. So we've got to, from the very start tonight, we've got to match people with physicality regardless of what it is. And even like last week in the kicking game, I think physically we outmatched them in some areas. So we've got to be physical. We've got to do a much better job protecting the football. We had gone, I don't remember exactly how many quarters, but I was looking at how many quarters we had protected the ball. You can't turn the ball over, especially in critical situations. And then the last thing is play tonight like you played the last 8.5, 9 minutes of the game. And, coaches always have cliches and use them a lot of times, but, you got to play like you're always behind. And if we play like that, we'll be successful tonight.
Coaches, appreciate your time tonight and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For head coach Rodney Southern, defensive coordinator Amaury Del Real, offensive coordinator Scott Schroeder, producers Matt Thompson and Cole Witter, and superintendent Dr. Brent Hawkins, I'm Kurtis Quillin saying thanks for joining us on Countdown to Kickoff. Up next, we'll send it up to the Big Joe Lombardi radio booth where Russ Cochran and Ben Pettit have you covered on the call.
Yay! Woo!